What you are looking at now is a real drawing from a medieval guide to siege warfare. Understandably, your next question is probably, what are you looking at? Since the beginning of civilization, there has been a race between attackers and defenders. In 9000 BC, the walls of Jericho were constructed in an attempt to put a stop to invading forces pillaging the land. And along with the first walls came the first tactics to try and overcome these new defences. While Jericho's walls were certainly a great engineering achievement for those who built them, if you're to believe this book, all it took was a couple of lads marching around the walls once per day and blowing their trumpets for the entire population to give up. Now, having said that, it also mentioned that they had the literal Ark of the Covenant with them, and if you know your Indiana Jones trivia, then maybe you would have given up at the sight of it too. Needless to say, the fall of Jericho did not deter future civilizations from continuing to build walls to protect their people, their land, and their cities. These future civilizations also decided to go with the time-tested tradition of bigger is better. A good example of this is the city of Rhodes, which was sieged in 1480, 280, no. How many times was this place sieged? 305 BC, that's the one. Yes, the siege of Rhodes in 305 BC. Now, while it's not exactly clear how tall the walls were, what is clear is the size of the siege weapon that was created to try and overcome them. Demetrius I of Macedon, who was the son of one of Alexander the Great's generals, got it into his head that he wanted to siege the city of Rhodes to convert it from a neutral trading city-state and turn it against one of its close trading partners, Ptolemy, who coincidentally was also previously one of Alexander the Great's generals. This was widely regarded as a dick move by much of the Greek world, Demetrius' fellow Macedonians, and most of all, the Rhodians. Anyway, to try and take the city, Demetrius had a siege tower constructed which would be used to allow his men to safely ascend the walls and begin trying to infiltrate the city. These siege towers were known by their Greek name, Helipolos, which translates to taker of cities. This tower in particular was the largest documented siege tower in history, standing at 40 meters high and 20 meters at the base, with wheels 5 meters tall. It must have been a truly terrifying sight. It was said to have dwarfed the walls of the city of Rhodes. The tower was also clad in fireproof material such as metal plating to make it all the more difficult to take down. Having said all this, the Rhodians were ultimately successful in repelling the attack. In one story, they dislodged some of this metal cladding and the tower was withdrawn from battle to protect it. In another version, a hole was created in the city walls at night to flood the intended attack route of the tower and make it impassable. And so, this brings us back to the image of the cat. And yes, that is a rocket strapped to its back. In 1584, a man by the name of Franz Helm, considered an artillery master, wrote a manuscript outlining several concepts for sieging a city. Some of these may have been considered more mainstream, such as using cannons or invading by foot or barrels, or guess this is like some sort of shrapnel grenade. And this is a really hot stick and bindle. This one sort of looks like a jacuzzi. And maybe a Catherine wheel for some fireworks celebrations at the end when you win. Look, if I'm honest, I didn't really look too much into these other ones because the cat one really took my interest. And this isn't a misinterpretation of one drawing. He's got a few of these cat rockets in here and he even appeared to be branching out into birds. One thing's for certain is that he wasn't a man short of imagination. Here's a passage of text where he specifically describes how one should go about using a rocket cat to bring down a beleaguered city. Als Vorbel ein so... No, I can't. I can't speak early German. So yeah, I'll just give you the actual translation of what it said. So there is the full text for you, but the important part here, that is interesting, is the explanation of when you then want to use the little creature, you insert a small igniting charge into it and set it alight. Then it will run upon the ground, back and forth, and spread fire against the enemy. From what I could see, it is unclear as to whether this technique was ever actually used in a siege, successfully or not. The codex that this image and paragraph is contained in is over 450 pages long, and this is but a small part of it. It seems that, as I stated before, Franz Helm was a great ideas man. Maybe he never intended for all of these suggestions to be weighted equally. Maybe he'd placed a bet with one of his friends that he could get this outrageous suggestion into a military codex. But if you think about it, Is it really as big a leap as it may seem at first glance? If you have ever played the game Rome Total War, you will undoubtedly have encountered an opposing army containing these formidable beasts. Rome, yes, the same Rome as mentioned in the game title, developed a novel way to deter the elephants of their opponents, and you can see how it might have inspired Franz Helm while he was brainstorming his novel concepts. Now, I don't know how they came up with this idea either, so you could argue that we're just kicking the can down the road in terms of explanations, but here is what they figured out. If you coat a pig in pitch or resin, set it alight and coerce it towards the enemy, it does a great job of frightening the opposing elephants and causing them to run amok and trample their own supporting army. And again, there is debate about the legitimacy of this having occurred in the Roman times, with the main source being the siege of Megara. The more you look into it, the more it seems to be myth and legend the whole way down. Anyway, this potential evidence once more involved our friends the Macedonians sieging a city, but this time their attack was thwarted by the release of these flaming pigs, which caused the Macedonian elephants to trample their fellow soldiers in terror. So there you have it, perhaps inspired by military commanders of old, perhaps on a whim, whatever the case. The codex was published and contained Franz Helm's feline proposal amongst his many others. And before we look back and sneer, don't forget that the Soviets had an anti-tank dog training program during World War II, and even as recently as 2005, insurgents in Iraq attached explosives to a dog and tried to blow up a military convoy near the northern oil centre of Kirkuk. But thankfully it caused neither injury amongst the soldiers nor any damage. Well, I imagine the dog might want to say in that. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe for more dives into interesting and less covered topics.